Hello. Yeah, hi. Very good evening to everyone. Hi, Rama. My turn. So let's get this started. Okay. So hi. Also, let's get started. So right, like yesterday, what we did was we had explore. We were exploring on the list tuples and what dictionaries are and how do we create them. Okay. So today, what we will do over here is we will be starting off with the comparison operators. Right, so like comparison are straightforward, like you all would be very much familiar with this as well. Like the Excel in the SQL also we use them, so they are exactly the same thing that we have in the Python as well, right? Like when it comes to comparison operators, we have greater than, less than, not equal to, so those are something that are called as comparison operators. Like for example, if I say 2 equals to 2. Now, right, I want to compare two values, right? That is where the comparison comes in. So when you have to use equal sign, right? So you will have to use the equal to twice. So if you run this, it gives you the output as true. That is that 2 is equals to 2, right? So for we have different type of comparison operators, right? Like equals to, greater than, less than, greater than equal to, less than equal to, and you have not equal to, right? So you want not equal to, so not equal to is something that we write it like this. So this is not equal to. So these are basically the comparison operators that we have in the Python. Okay, I don't think it will require a lot of the understanding, right? Equal to, less than equal to, and likewise. So you just try them out, right? 2 not equal to 5, right? So that should be a true. That means 2 is not equal to 5. You also have the operators like, you have this and or as well, which you can use if you want to compare something. Okay. So and all, like they are also called as logical operators, right? So these are basically called as logical operators. So for example, you want to say 1 is greater than 2, sorry, 1 is less than 2, and 5 is greater than 4. So if you have to check more than one condition, right? So we can use and or in that case. So if I run it, so if both the conditions are true, then only you will get true. And if even one condition is false, the output will come as false in that case, right? So that is what we know about the logical operators. I know there is also something that is called as chained operators in Python, right? So chained operator is like, if suppose I write something like this, 1 is less than 2 is less than 3, right? Now if you see over here, this is like there are two conditions. Now this is something that is called as chain. See, output will be true. How this thing works is, if I have written something like this, 1 is less than 2 less than 3, in this basically there are two conditions that we are checking. And what are those conditions? We are first checking 1 less than 2, right? And then what we are doing is we are checking 2 less than 3. So this is what we call it as chain operator. Okay, where what we do is we give two conditions together. So please try them. Okay. Now what over here we're going to do is we're going to start off with some very basic, some Python statements. Okay, so we have seen some of the basic stuff, right? How we are storing the data in the form of variables and all. Now we are going to start off with some Python statements. Now when it comes to Python statements, right? So the first statement that we are going to start off with is that is if else. Okay, this is something that we are going to start off. So if else, like this is something we use to check for the conditions. And we did the if condition in the Excel also, we did the if condition in the SQL also, and we did the if condition in the Tableau also, right? So everywhere we have seen that if condition is something that we use everywhere. So now we are going to explore this if statement uh, in the Python, that how do we use it. Okay, so let's get started on this and let's explore that how we will use if else condition in this. So let's start with this now. So what happened is that the way we write the if conditions in the Python is we have a syntax for that. So first of all, the syntax goes like this. Syntax for if else. So what we do is, first of all, you will say if, and then you give your condition, that what your condition is, right? And then you put a colon. See, now over here, this if statement, right? If you remember, this is something that I said yesterday also. Like in Python, indentation also plays an important role. Now, if I say if case one and you will hit enter, see, automatically you will notice something, that when you hit enter, now this cursor was not coming exactly in the starting, it was coming somewhere in the middle, Okay, like if you would have noticed over here, it was coming over here. Now this is how the if condition is written. If by chance you change this left right, it will give you an error. Then what you do is you write if case one. Then what you do is you give what action you want to perform. Right? If the condition is true, what do you want to perform? Then what you do is you will have to come back and then you will write else condition. And else condition is like else if. So you will say elif, right? Elif. Elif means else if. Now what is your condition two? Right? You give your condition two. If this condition is true, what is the action you want to perform? Perform action two, right? And if you want to give else, you will write else and then what is the action you want to perform. So that is how you write your if condition in the Python, right? Now this is the syntax for that. If you give your first condition, if the condition is true, this is what is going to happen. Else if second condition, this is what is going to happen. Else if both the conditions are false, this is something that is going to happen. Now this happens if the conditions when the conditions are true. Okay. So like let's start with this. Let's take a very small example of this. Okay, so I will say if I'm just writing true. Now my condition is true. I want to print something like this. I want to print it is true. See, it is true, output is printed. If I define a variable x equal to false, right? I'm storing one value false in the x. Now if I say if x, now I want the output as print uh, x was true, else x was false. Right? So now you see, if the condition was true, if the condition is true, this would have been printed, and otherwise this would have been printed. So now if you see in the output in the variable, I had false. Now this was a logical data. If false, so it will jump because the condition is false, and it prints else. Okay. So now please try to write a code. I will now let's check age. Right. We will create a variable of age and we will store some data in this. And we want to write a code that if the age is more than 18, right, the person is eligible for driver license. This is what should be the output, eligible for driver license. Otherwise, not eligible. So can you write this if condition for this? Then what we will do is we will create a variable and let's store the value as 20, and I will say if age is more than 18, I want to print eligible for driver license, else print not eligible. Right, so this guy is eligible for D. Right, Rama? So this is what we will do it, eligible and not eligible. Similarly, if you want to build a condition with multiple conditions, right? So for example, now if I am saying temperature, right? So temperature is 30. I want to build a condition as in, right, if the temperature was more than 35, it is hot. If the temperature is between 25 to 35, it is moderate. Otherwise, it is cold, right? So what I can do is I can write a condition. If temperature is more than 35, I would like to print hot. Elif temp is more than 25, I want to print moderate or pleasant. Else print cold. Right, so I get the output as pleasant. Okay, so now, so like else is something that is not always required, right? So just basically, else is something you can put it, and it's not necessary that you have to put it every time. I hope now this is clear how we have used the if and elif conditions over here. It's straightforward, right? Nothing uh, tough in this. Okay. Now what we're going to do over here is we are going to talk about loops. Okay. So what is a loop and why do we need a loop? Anyone?
To check the conditions again.
Sorry.
To check the conditions again and again.
So basically, when you have to do a similar kind of a task
Mhm.
multiple times, that is where we use the concept of loops, right? Now, basically, loops are used when we have to do the similar task multiple times. Okay, that is where we that is the point where what we do is we make use of the concept of the loops in that case. I suppose you have to print a table of 5, or you have to print the factorial of a number, or something like that. You have to print hello 20 times, right? So that is where we will make use of the loops in that case. Now, when it comes to loops, right? So when it comes to loop, the first loop that we are going to talk about is that is the for loop. Okay. Now, a for loop is something. Now, this acts like an iterator. This acts like an iterator. So what we do in this case is we specify that how many number of times a loop has to run, right? How many times a particular loop or action has to be done. So it goes through basically, it goes through, that it goes through the items that are there in a sequence, right? So what we do in this case is like how we use this loop is, so we will have to make the use of the, like a list or a dictionary or a tuple over here. So like for example, what I do now is I create a list, and in the list what I'm doing is I'm saying right like 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, I have created a list up till 5. So what we do now is, so now I have created a list. Now what I've done is in this list I have 5 items. Okay, I have 5 items in this. So how do we write a for loop is I will say for, and then what I will do is I can define any variable. I am saying for I in list 1. Okay, basically what I've done is I have assigned a variable I, and what this I is going to do, this I is going to work in this list over here. Okay, I am saying for I in list 1. So in this list, how many items do I have? I have 5 items. Now this loop is going to run 5 times. When the first time the loop will run, it will pick the first item. Okay. When the loop will run second time, it will pick the second item. When the loop will run third item, it will when the loop will run third time, it will pick the number as 3. Basically, the number of items that you would have kept in this list, this for loop is going to run that number of times. And when the loop runs for the first time, it picks the first value. When the loop runs second time, it picks the second value. So you will take a look at it and you will understand it right away. So for example, if I say for I in list 1, right? Then you put a this colon, and I simply say print I. Okay. See, it prints 1 2 3 4 5. The loop executed 5 times, right? How the loop executed? Let's try to understand. When the loop executed first time, it picked 1. Value of I become 1. It goes inside, it says print I. That is, it prints 1. Now next time it comes back, and now loop will pick the second item. Now that was 2. So print I, that was the value in the I is 2. So it prints 2 for me. So that is how this loop is working, right? Like for example, if I create another list 2, in this I am storing the number as 10, 15, 18, right? 23, just some random numbers, 27. Now what I do is I write a for loop. I say for I, you can define I as anything. You can write I also, you can write J also, you can write anything. You can say for I in or for J in list 2 colon print J. So now it prints first time 10, then 15, then 18, then 23, then 27. If I write the same loop like this for J in list 2, I say print hello. So it is going to print 1 2 3 5 times hello for me. Getting it? Plus, what we are doing in this?
have a question, Amit. So you want to print just hello, we can just give if command or something, right? So why we need to get into the list?
Sorry, for?
No, if we want to print hello 5 times, this is the only way to do.
So otherwise, see, what we'll have to do is we'll have to write print hello 5 times. This is what you will do. You will have to write the same thing again and again. So you will write once, then you write twice, and when you execute it, so like write out in 2 times, it gives me 2. But in this, I just had to write once, and I was able to print it 5 times.
But I have a doubt in the like syntax, like for j in list 2, what it denotes, like it assigns the value in the list to j.
See, now, no. So list 2 is something that we are using to define how many times I want the loop to run. Okay, now in this loop, how many items do I have? 5 items. So if you want the loop to run 5 times, I have created a list with 5 items in it. If suppose you wanted the loop to run 10 times, you will create a list with 10 items in that. Okay. So that is for the number of times the loop has to run. And when the loop runs, what happens is the loop in this condition I have written for j in list 2. So list 2 is telling that this has to run 5 times. And then over here, this j, what this j will do is it is like a variable. When the first time the loop will run, the j will pick up the value as 10. When the second time the loop will run, the j will pick up the value as 50. And third time it will pick up the value as 80. Now, if you want to use that value, right? If you want to use that value, you can use it in the code, right? Like in this case, I said print j. Okay, so it is printing that value. First time it was 10, second time it was 15, then 18, and likewise. But if you don't want to use that value, you can simply write your another piece of code as well, that what you want to do that number of times the loop that you have created for.
Okay.
Hi Amit, I have a doubt. To use for, you always have to define a list before.
Sorry?
To use the for loop, do we have to always define a list before?
So you can define a list or a tuple or a dictionary. You can define anything.
So without defining, it won't take the iterations from anywhere, like dynamically, or there is no other way.
No. So basically that list is something that is required to define that number of times. So it's not mandatory that you have to define it like that. Only you can say for j n, you can define the list over here also, but that will be required. Suppose I say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And I can define it over here also. If I say print j, right? So you can define that thing over here also.
Okay.
So either define it over here or create it explicitly. So choice is a completely developer's choice that how he wants to do it.
So the for loop is always used to print the list which is defined above, or it is used for any other purpose?
No, it is used for multiple purposes. So list is something. So like what happened is that like the people who would have worked in uh, like C, C++ or Java language, over there, what happened is the for loop, we have it over there also.
Yes.
Okay, so over there, what we do is we write like this: for I in 1 to 10. Okay, we write it like this, that I want this loop to run 10 times. So what I will do is I is going to pick up the value first time as the 1, then the 2, then the 3, then the 4, up till 10 times. See, the whole idea of loop is when you have to do same type of task multiple times, we instead of writing that thing again and again, you define that how many times you want to do it. Okay, that is where we use the concept of loops. Now, like for example, if you have to print the table of 5, 5 multiplied by 1, 5 multiplied by 2. Now, instead of writing 5 into 1, 5 into 2, 5 into 3 again and again, we can put that thing into a loop. So wherein what will happen is that one, you will just have to write once and the multiplication will keep on happening 10 times, right? Because you want the loop to run 10 times. 1, 2, 3, and every time the loop runs, you are saying 5 into 1, 5 into 2, 5 into 3. So
Okay.
that is the use case of loop now,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So this list is required to define how many number of times you want to run it.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
Hi, Amit.
Yeah.
Hi. Sorry, I was having internet issue. I just joined the class a few minutes back. Can you please scroll up for once? Like, I just want to read through the code. What we have done. So we started with for.
We started with if.
Okay.
So first of all, we did some comparison operators,
Okay.
and then we were doing the if conditions.
If else,
So,
the same. All right.
if else, and then now we are doing the looping part.
Okay. So for loop, when we do an object, it'll print the values only or the keys also. For and before in JavaScript, but I'm just lost out on memory.
No, so you can do anything, right? For example, let's suppose I want to, I mean, you can do a lot of things over here. And in fact, we will do one question also to understand it better. So like, for example, I want to print a table of 5, right? So I want to print a table of 5 right now, up till 10. So what I do is I create a list. Okay, I create a list 3 in which what I am doing is I am storing the data as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. I have this 10 numbers in this. Okay, now what I will do over here is I will come over here. I will say for I in list 3. Now list 3 has 10 numbers. I say print. What do I want to print? I want to print 5 multiplied by I, right? Because first time when the loop will run, the value of I will be 1. Second time it will be 2. Third time it will be 3. So every time this loop is going to run 10 times. When the first time when the loop will run, the value of I will be 1. So it will print 5 into 1. Then the next time when the loop will run, the value of I will be 2. So it will become 5 into 2. So if you see now, 5 into 10 into 2, 15, 20, 30, you get all the numbers over here.
After writing this code, do we have to put a semicolon, or during writing a code we can just keep on writing? Like after statement, after we close the bracket, do we have a semicolon? Print bracket 5 star I after the bracket is, do we have
No,
to?
after that it is not required. Semicolon is required over here. After the for where you have written the for. So this is the syntax. Where you write the for part, you will require a colon over here. But after that, it is not required.
So even if we keep writing code, there is how do like there is
No,
no.
you can just keep on hitting enter and you can keep on writing the code. You can just keep writing the code after that.
And there is no colon or anything which needs to be put.
No.
Okay.
So it doesn't need any, the ending part it doesn't require.
Okay.
Just try this once, all of you, write it. Okay, so let me give you all a quick question over here. Okay, so let me give you a question that suppose, so let's create a list. Okay, you have to create a list over here, and this list has the numbers right, like 2, 5, 7, 8, 20. Okay, now these are the numbers that I have in this list: 2, 5, 7, 8, 20. Write a code to print all even numbers. Please try this.
In the if statement over here, do we have to use then, or what do we use in if statement?
Sorry.
In the if statement, what do we use? If the condition and then, or what is the syntax?
So you give, so you do it like this, like this. You give your condition, right? And then you put a colon, and then you give what do you want to do
Okay.
after hitting enter.
Okay.
So we will do, so see, we have to pick each number one by one, right? So I will say for I in list 4, right? So I is something that is going to pick up the numbers one by one. Now, when the numbers are picked, I have to check whether that number is even or not. How can I check it? I can say if, right? I can come over here. If I divide the number by 2, right? And if I get the remainder as 0, right? If the remainder that I get over here that comes out to be as 0, what will that mean? That will mean that the number is even. So I will print I, right? So if I now run this, I get 2, 8, 20. So the numbers which are even, so they are printed over here. So it is my condition. I am checking if the remainder is 0, then print the number. Then it will go back to the loop. It will pick the second number. If that over there the condition is true, it will print it. So this is how it is going to print the number for me.
So double equal to means
Comparison. So I have to
single
check
equal to will be assignment.
single is assignment and double equal to is comparison. Are you all able to get it? Or any doubt on this? Okay. So now let's do another question. If I give you the same list, this list, what you have to do is print the sum of the list. Now you have to using the loops, right? You can find that by using simple sum function also. So it will give you the sum right away. But you have to find the sum with the help of loops, the for loops. You have to find the sum of this. Try to think how you get it. Yep. Anyone is able to do it? See, now this question is little different, right? Not different very much. So first of all, what you'll have to do is you'll have to define a variable, right? So let's call it as total. I'm calling it as the value in the total is 0. Okay. Then what we do is we write our loop. I will say for a for a number in list 4, the list that we have. What I want to do now is now I want to add the numbers. I am saying total is equals to total plus num. That's it, right? So what I'm saying is what I did was I assigned a variable. Okay, I had assigned a variable over here, and what that in that variable I have assigned the value as 0, right? And what is my question? I want to find the sum of these numbers. So I am running the loop, right? How many times the loop is going to run? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times the loop is going to run. Now inside the loop, what I'm doing is when the first time the loop will run, the value of num will be 2. Then I'm saying total equal to total plus num. What was the value of total? Total was 0. So I'm saying 0 plus num, that is 2. So the value of total will become 2. Now when the next time the loop will run, now the value inside this will be, the value will be 5. Now this, when it comes inside the loop, it will become total equal to 2 plus num, because previous value of total was 2. 2 plus num, that is 5. 2 plus 5, that becomes 7. So the value of total will get updated to 7. And that is how the loop will keep on running, and the value of this total will keep on getting updated. Now after the loop runs, then what I have to do is I have to print. So I will say print total. So I get 42. Yep. Is it making sense?
Amit, if we write print total, right, so, the total with that tab, like with the indentation, it will whole list and then 42. But once we give a line break and then write print, it just gives the sum. So
See, basically, you know what happens? So Python is about indentation. So like, for example, if I write this code over here, okay, and if I write it like this right now, if I write it like this, now when it is indented, right? So now it is considered as a part of for loop. So what will happen is this total will be printed every time, right? Like this total will be printed every time again and again. So for example, let me define the total once again. I'm saying total is equal to 0. Okay, now what will happen is when the first time the loop is going to run, the value of num will be 2. So it will say, okay, 0 plus 2, total becomes 2, and then it will print the total as 2. Then again, the loop will come back and the value of num will be 5. So it will say 2 plus 5, total becomes 7, and it will print the 7. So right, if I show you 2, 7, 14, 22, 42.
yes.
But when you move outside the indentation, when you remove the indentation, now Python understands that the for loop is only running up till here. So it will first run the complete for loop. And if it's not mandatory, you have to give a line break. Even if you don't give a line break, still it will work, right? It is still going to give you the same result, that is 42. Because the moment it sees the indentation has changed, it now from here it gets to know that the for loop, first it will execute the for loop, then it will come to the last print. Making sense?
Thank you.
Okay. See, now what happened is there is a function that is called, there is a function that is range. Now range is a function, like if you have to say suppose run a loop 50 times, okay, you cannot keep on creating a list from 1 to 50. That will be a very tedious process. So what we do is we have a function range. So if I say range 0 comma 10, okay, so print. We'll have to use it like this: a equal to okay. So now you see over here, I have used a function range to create my list, and I am saying I said 0 to 10. That is, starting number is 0 and ending number is 10. So what it does is it creates a list for me right away, starting from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it doesn't bring the last one. It doesn't, like, remember in that slicing also we saw this. It doesn't print the last one. So it will print the number starting from 0 to last minus 1. That is 9. Right? Suppose if you want to create the range up till suppose 50, you write 0 to 50, or if you want to start it from 1, you can say 1 to 50. So the numbers will be now printed from 1 to 49. So you will see now these numbers are coming from 1 to 49. Okay, because the numbers are very long, so it is coming like vertically. So you can use range function if you have to generate big list of numbers, and within the range you can also put a step part. Like for example, if I write list range 1 to 50 comma 2. See, now if you will notice over here, yes, come on this. See, now it is printing 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Basically, it is now jumping the value by 2. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. That is how the numbers are getting printed. So if you want to generate a sequence of numbers that is big, you don't really have to be, like typing all those numbers one by one. You can actually use the function of range. Okay. So please try it once. Okay. Now, if I give you a task, now write a code to print the factorial of a number. Can you do that? Right? Like factorial is like 5 factorial is 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. Right? So you have to print the factorial of a number. Suppose let's say you have to print the factorial of number 5. So how will you write a code for that? That is 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. And please, all of you, try this out. Okay. Right. So build a list. Perfect. Others, please try this. Yep. I hope you are able to write it. So just go by step, right? You will have to keep on storing the data at each value, right? You will have to define that something where you will store the data and your number, right, with which you have to multiply. Suppose you have to find the factorial of 5, right? And then start with it. Right, so Anusha, you have list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Factorial equal to 1, fact equal to fact into I, right? Right, so this is how you will do it. So I want to print the factorial of number 5, right? So what I will do is I will say for I in, I'll create a list over here only. Range, I will start the range from 1 to 6 because I have to print the factorial up to number of 5, right? So I will take it up till 6 now. Okay. Now over here when I come, okay, now what I do is I simply say fact is equal to fact multiplied by I, right? And then what I do is I write print. Now over here I will show you something, right? I will say print the factorial of 5 is, you write a comma and you can write fact, right? The factorial of 5 is 120. So you can see the output, right? I define a variable fact as 1, then I am saying num equal to 5. This is the number for which the factorial has to be printed. Now I am saying for I in list up to that number, and that is where I say print, then fact equal to fact into I multiply the numbers, and then finally I print that output, right?
Hi, Amit. In this, what is the need for that number equal to 5?
A number equal to
5?
See that I just wrote over here. So I just wanted to, I can make it dynamic. So basically what I can do is I can write the same code as list in range num plus 1. Okay. Now if I change the number to 10, so I can just execute my code and I can get the output. And this it will be the factorial of,
Fact.
so this will be, I write num over here, comma is, right? So that way what will happen is the code will become dynamic. So I just need to change my number. I write 15 over here and that is how I do it.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you. Yeah.
Now let's make this, the code a little more dynamic. Now, what is the factorial of 0?
Infinity. Zero.
Factorial of 0 is 1.
1.
Factorial of 0 is 1. Okay. And factorial of negative number,
If it is an odd number,
no. So you can't find the factorial of negative number. Not possible. Okay. So we can't find the factorial of negative numbers, and 0 factorial is 1.
how
Okay,
is 0
0.
factorial 1?
Huh?
0. How is it 1?
No,
Factorial.
now this is something that is defined. This is as per the mathematics rule that has been defined. Like 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1 into 0, it is considered up to 0. Like, basically 0 will make everything as 0. So that is why 0 factorial is given the number as 1. So now this is something like mathematically that has been defined.
Okay.
That factorial of a negative number you cannot find. The factorial of 0 is 1. And otherwise, if you have any positive number, so factorial will go like 5 into 4 into 3 into 2 into 1. That is how we find it. Okay. So now, can you make this code dynamic, that if suppose I give the number as 0, I should get the output as the factorial is of 0 is not possible. The factorial of 0 is 1. If I give a negative number, I should get an output that the factorial of negative number is not possible. So can you please make that code?
Hi, Amit. I'm having some error in the previous one, that factorial one.
Can you share your
Uh,
screen?
yeah.
And you know, you have an extra comma that I see. The code that you have shared now,
Oh,
you have just an extra comma that I can see over here.
not there. The one. Are you able to see?
Now I can see. So you were saying, one second for I. Number I. So what's giving the number error number? Just give me a second.
Okay.
What is correct? I mean, from this perspective, so brackets are also closed. And then you know, do one thing. Sometimes it happens that just restart it.
Can I open the new page?
No, no. Let me just restart this. Restart. It will just take a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Restart the lines. Now it's working fine. So now it should come over here. Okay, now it's working.
Okay.
So sometimes it happens, you just have to sometimes restart the kernel. So if you get such an error, just come to the kernel
Okay.
and restart it. Restart it from here.
If there is no logic in the error, like.
It's just like, you know, restarting that Python. It's just like that.
Okay.
Okay, so I think Radhika, you have shared it.
No, it's not giving the output. It's just the if syntax, something I think is wrong in the if syntax.
You are saying if number is greater than 0, factorial equal to this. elif also, now you have to put up this colon. When you have written elif num equal to 0, you have missed the colon over there.
I put colon in that now, and
No, you have written two part. Now one is else and one is elif.
yeah, in that I did not, but right now I tried with the colon after n equal to 0. Still, it's not giving. I'll show you the
Ashad, you have also shared. Let me just check that.
code.
The one is this.
I've
You are
sent the
saying,
latest code, which yeah,
huh?
I sent the one I just.
No problem. So I'll just make a change in this side. So you are saying for I in see the what you are doing over here is so technically if you see what do you think what you should have first whether you should have first a if condition or you should have a loop first.
Uh,
You should technically first have a
I guess
condition,
loop.
right? You
Okay.
should have a first condition. Now, if the condition is basically true,
Hmm. Okay, then
right,
perform the loop. Okay.
then
then run.
only it should go inside it, right? If the condition is true, then if the number is zero, then it should by default print the output as one.
Okay.
Else, if the number is less than zero, by default it should print
Okay.
that, right? So that is where the logic is going on.
Okay.
Also, in the first line, the factorial of 5, it should not be of 5, it should just be the factorial is.
So all these things will come in the last. So like what we have got from Rama, right? So yours is correct.
But I'm not getting the output. I'm getting
No
a.
problem. Let's check it out. Where it should be. See, most of the issues happen in the indentation that I generally observe. In the initial when we start learning it. So you are saying fact equal to 1, number equal to 0. If number is less than 0, print not possible. If number is equal to 0, right? Equal to this. If you will write 1 equal to, that is assignment.
No, I
Okay.
tried the two. I tried with 2 equal to also. Still, I got the same.
No problem. No, let's try to find it out. Then you have elif, print the factorial is 1. Then you say else, okay, and then you say for you change something over here, right? So this is where the indentation has gone wrong. It has to be over here. That's it. Got it? So this is what you have to print, and this should also come over here. If the number is 0, the factorial is 1. Okay, let's change the number. Let's make it 5. Factorial is 120, right? Let's make it -1. Not possible. Got it?
Okay.
Okay, so sure, let me just pick up yours. So I'll just pick this. Indentation is again problem, right? Over here.
Where?
And this, okay. Like I don't know, like it has happened during the copy only, or it was fine at your end. So this, if I copy this, so indentation. So if you're saying if value is greater than 0, for I in A. What is A?
A is that list, range of list.
I think I didn't copy that.
Hello?
Hello. Yeah, so I just want to see that list.
Okay, just a moment. Yeah, I posted it.
It's working, right? So there was just a problem of indentation that I saw that I resolved.
Okay, but where I'm not getting it.
Can you share your screen?
Just a moment.
I have not made any change in that. I just made a small tab.
Okay.
So you also don't have that indentation. See, you see the error is also coming. That factorial. You see, just read the error. So it is saying factorial equal to this. There is as expected an indented block. Okay. So if you see this error also, it is signifying this thing. Just give me the controls once.
How to give controls?
I'll just check. Yeah.
Okay, approve. Yeah.
So if you see now this if you see this error over here, it is straight away
Mhm.
telling that over here there is an error. You see small arrow,
Oh,
and there
okay.
is this line written. This line is written over here,
Yeah, right.
and it is giving you the error type also, that expected an indented block. Okay.
Mhm.
So whenever you see this indented block means that there is some indentation issue. Like
Okay.
now, let's move up over here. Yeah. So see, if you see over here, wherever we have written the if you see the line number 100,
Mhm.
you see when you write for loop, then there is when you put a semicolon, when you hit enter, automatically what happen is there is an indentation that comes in. You
Correct.
see for is written over here, and the next part that I will write, I will start from here.
Okay.
Now what you did was you actually pressed this and you started typing over here. Okay,
Okay.
that is where the issue happened. So if you
Okay.
see in your code right now, if you will come, see this is where the for loop you have written.
Hmm.
If you will hit enter,
Hmm.
technically the factorial line
Oh,
should come over here.
okay. Okay.
Okay, so that is
Hmm.
what is creating an issue. So you can just copy this line from here so that indentation is taken care of. And remove this line. The rest is correct. Now if you will run it, right? Now what is, so there is some invalid syntax. Got it?
Oh, okay. Fine. Got it. Can I stop sharing?
Sure. So Anush, you can just take your code. Yeah, so yours is working fine. Number not 1. If I put 10, this is perfectly fine, right? So 12 is fine, correct. So now this gives you a little confidence in terms of writing the loop. Okay, so yesterday I had to share an assignment, I couldn't do it. But for sure, today what I will do is I will put two, 3 assignments for all the things that we have done, right? Like the if conditions for the loops and for the previous basics part. So I'll upload all of them today. So yesterday I just missed on that site. So today I will do it. So you can all work on that, and probably tomorrow or maybe whenever you have get any doubts and all, we can also discuss on the same. Okay. Right. So this is where we'll stop for today, and let's take up the things ahead tomorrow on this. Okay.
Amit, I just have one question from the Tableau second assignment, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure. You can share the screen.
Yeah. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a question where in the second assignment, we have to create a dashboard by adding visualizations in bullet 2, 7, and 11, which I've done, 2nd, 7th, and 11th. And then they're saying the chart 2 should act as a filter for chart 7 on year. That is, clicking on a year in chart 2 should filter the selected year in chart 7 and 11. However, on clearing the selection, the filter should retain and not show values for all the years. Also, the title of chart 7 and 11 should mention the filtered year.
Okay. So this part is not clear to you, right?
Yeah.
See, okay. So go to that report. And click on the dashboard at the top and click on actions. Okay. See, what happened is you first of all you have to add an action. I think this is something that we didn't do in the class, right?
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. So let's do one thing. Let me explain you this thing in tomorrow's session. In detail.
Sure.
I mean, it's something we have already done. I mean, we have done it, but I didn't show you this option in that case. So like, do you have to apply an action filter? This is the part of action filter where you can see those action filters. So I'll explain you this part in the tomorrow. First thing I'll show you this, and then we'll move on with the
Okay. Thank you.
Because actually I just have to jump into the next session right now, so that is why. So tomorrow
Okay.
I'll
No
show you.
problem. Yep.
Thank you. See you all tomorrow.